Your cat is sitting on the back of the couch. You're at your desk. You glance up, and she's staring directly at you, not casually looking in your direction, not zoning out. Full eye contact, completely still, unblinking. For so long it starts to feel almost uncomfortable. Your first instinct is probably simple. She wants something. Food, maybe. Attention. Or maybe she's just doing one of those strange cat things that make no sense to humans. So you stand up to check the food bowl. It's full. You walk toward her. She doesn't meow, doesn't move. She just keeps staring. Most people brush this off as randomness. Others assume it's affection or mild irritation. And honestly, both explanations touch part of the truth. But neither explains what's really happening. Because that stare? It's not random at all. It's communication. A very old form of communication your cat learned before she was even fully grown. And without realizing it, you've been participating in it for years. Number 1. The silent negotiation system. Long before cats lived in human homes, staring had meaning. Not always aggression. Not always dominance. Sometimes, it was negotiation. A way of gathering information before making a decision. Kittens learn this early. Before vocalizing loudly. Before physical contact. They watch. Carefully. They study movement. Response patterns. Emotional reactions. And that system never disappears as they grow older. It simply evolves. And eventually gets directed at you. Now picture your cat sitting across the room again. Completely focused. What looks like just staring is actually a highly active process. She's observing your behavior in real time. Your posture. Your attention. Whether you react to her presence or ignore it. And every response you give teaches her something. When you immediately stand up, check the food bowl, or speak to her, you've entered the exchange, without even knowing it. Here's what makes this fascinating. Cats are experts at learning which human behaviors create predictable outcomes, not through commands like dogs, but through subtle emotional and visual feedback loops. Your cat stares. You react. The brain registers the sequence. Over time, that pattern becomes communication. Not demanding, negotiating, testing. A quiet back and forth built entirely on observation. And here's the part most people never realize. Sometimes your cat isn't staring because she wants something physical at all. Not food, not play. Sometimes she's simply checking connection, confirming awareness, making sure the social bond between you is still active. Because in a cat's world, attention itself has value. Once you understand that, the stare stops feeling random. Because it isn't empty. It's deliberate. A silent conversation your cat has been trying to have with you all along. But there's another layer to this behavior. And it explains why some stares feel calm and peaceful, while others feel so intense. You instinctively look away first. Number 1. The slow blink is a contractual obligation. In 2020, researchers at the University of Sussex conducted controlled experiments with 21 cats and their owners to test a specific hypothesis about eye contact. They found that cats were significantly more likely to approach an unfamiliar human who performed slow blinks compared to humans who maintained neutral expressions. The effect was measurable and consistent, but the second finding was more revealing. When owners slow blinked at their own cats first, the cats reciprocated at a rate of 73% and were more likely to approach immediately afterward. This isn't just preference. It's a learned social contract. The slow blink from your cat's perspective is the equivalent of a verbal greeting in human interaction. It signals non-aggression, but more importantly, it signals willingness to engage. When your cat stares at you without blinking, she's waiting. She's holding space for you to acknowledge the interaction properly. A 2019 study by Karen Cum, the same researcher behind the Sussex experiments, found that cats modulate their behavior based on whether humans respond to these visual cues. Cats whose owners regularly slow blinked showed lower cortisol levels during routine veterinary exams, suggesting the behavior reduces baseline stress by reinforcing predictable social patterns. Your cat isn't staring because she's judging you. She's staring because you haven't said hello yet. And in her framework, the conversation can't start until you do. Number 2, direct eye contact means you're being evaluated for threat. There's a second thing happening underneath that stare. In 2011, researchers at the University of Lincoln studied how domestic cats respond to direct versus averted gaze from humans. They found that cats showed more stress behaviors, including lip licking, head turning, and increased blinking when humans maintained direct eye contact for more than 3 seconds without breaking. The cortisol response was measurable. What complicates this is that the same study found cats didn't show these stress markers when the human was familiar and the context was calm. The deciding factor wasn't the eye contact itself. It was whether the cat had established that this particular human follows the rules. When a stranger stares, it reads as predatory. When you stare without slow blinking, it reads as a rule violation. The biological mechanism here is ancient. In feline social systems, prolonged direct eye contact is a dominance display or a prelude to aggression. Mother cats teach kittens this during play. A kitten who doesn't break eye contact during roughhousing gets a corrective swat. Your cat learned before she was 12 weeks old that unbroken staring means the interaction is escalating. When you hold eye contact too long without signaling non-aggression, you're not being affectionate. From her perspective, you're being rude at best, threatening at worst. The stress response is her attempting to de-escalate something you didn't realize you'd started. Number 3, looking away first is not submission. Most people assume that if they break eye contact first, they're conceding dominance. This belief comes from outdated pack hierarchy models applied incorrectly to cats. A 2013 study from the University of Tokyo involving 58 cats tested this directly. Researchers had humans initiate eye contact, then either maintain it until the cat looked away or break contact first while performing a slow blink. Cats were significantly more likely to approach and initiate physical contact when the human looked away first with a slow blink. The data showed no correlation between who broke eye contact and subsequent dominance behaviors like food guarding or territorial blocking. What did correlate was trust. Cats who experienced repeated interactions where the human broke eye contact first showed increased proximity-seeking behavior over a 6-week period. They sat closer, slept in the same room more often, and vocalized more during interactions. The mechanism isn't about hierarchy, it's about predictability. When you look away first, you're signaling that you're not a threat, that the interaction is safe to continue, and that you're following the rules she understands. A cat who feels safe doesn't need to monitor you constantly. She can relax, approach, and engage. Looking away first isn't weakness. It's fluency in the language she's been speaking since she was born. Number 4, the stare without sound means she's waiting for acknowledgement. When your cat stares at you silently, no meowing, no movement, she's using what researchers call a visual solicitation behavior. A 2017 study from Abu University in Japan analyzed 3,000 hours of video footage showing cats interacting with their owners in home environments. They found that cats used silent staring in 61% of interactions before any other behavior, like meowing or approaching. The silence is deliberate. It's the first move in a sequence. The researchers identified a clear pattern. Silent staring typically lasted between 8 and 45 seconds. If the owner didn't respond, the cat escalated to vocalization or movement. If the owner did respond, either by slow blinking, speaking, or moving toward the cat, the interaction continued without escalation. The key variable was timing. Owners who responded within the first 15 seconds had significantly longer, calmer interactions with their cats. Owners who ignored the stare or didn't notice it for more than 30 seconds saw more demanding behaviors like loud meowing or jumping onto surfaces. Your cat isn't being mysterious or aloof. She's being polite. She's initiating contact the way she learned to initiate contact. And she's giving you time to respond appropriately. When you scroll past her stare without acknowledging it, you're not ignoring her. You're breaking a rule. She assumes, you know, the frustration she shows afterward isn't randomness. It's the feline equivalent of repeating yourself because someone didn't hear you the first time. Number 5, if you stare first, you've issued a challenge. There's one more layer. In 2015, researchers at the University of Vienna tested how cats responded when humans initiated prolonged eye contact unexpectedly. They used 29 cats in controlled settings. The humans would enter a room, make direct eye contact with the cat, and hold it without blinking or looking away for 10 seconds. The results were unambiguous. 82% of cats either left the room, turned their backs, or displayed avoidance behaviors like grooming or sniffing objects. The remaining 18% held eye contact but showed stress signals, including dilated pupils and flattened ears. None of the cats approached. A A follow-up variation had the same humans enter the room, make brief eye contact, then look away, and slow blink. In this condition, 54% of cats approached within 2 minutes. The difference wasn't the human, it was the rule set. When you initiate a stare, especially if your cat wasn't already looking at you, you're issuing what she perceives as a challenge. It doesn't matter that you mean it affectionately. The biological wiring interprets sustained unsolicited eye contact as confrontational. This is why cats often seem to prefer people who ignore them. Those people aren't threatening. They're not staring. They're following the protocol accidentally by not engaging visually at all. If you want your cat to approach, don't stare her down. Let her initiate. And when she does, respond within her framework. The next time your cat stares at you from across the room, here's what's actually happening. She's opening a channel. She's waiting for you to confirm that the interaction is safe, that you're not a threat, and that you're willing to engage on terms she understands. The slow blink is her vocabulary. The pause is her grammar. The silence is her way of being respectful before escalating. When you slow blink back, you're not just being cute. You're completing a social contract that exists in her neurology. You're activating the same pathway that fired when her mother blinked at her in the nest. You're reinforcing the predictability that lowers her cortisol and lets her relax in your presence. When you ignore the stare or hold eye contact too long without blinking, you're not being aloof or assertive. You're speaking a language she doesn't recognize, and she has to assume you're either unaware or hostile. The stress response, the walking away, the meowing that comes later, all of it traces back to this moment when you didn't follow the rule she expected. Your cat isn't asking for much. She's asking you to blink. If you've been wondering why she stares, now you know. And if you've been staring back without blinking, now you know why she leaves. Try it tonight. When she stares, blink slowly, look away, and wait. Watch what she does next. If this changed how you see that stare, subscribe, and tell me in the comments what your cat does when you slowing back. I want to know if the science holds in your living.